See, unlike Katarina's kidnapping, Keith's kidnapping isn't going to end in a harem fun fest. I mean, there's something about this season of Otome Game and kidnappings, and I don't know what it is, but I'm kind of here for it, I gotta admit. Where it could be easy to look at it at face value and say, oh, we've already had a kidnapping arc, do we really need another? But this one definitely feels night and day, as when Katarina was kidnapped, that was a vacation for her. Here we have Keith chained up, being beaten by siblings, and honestly, some bad shit could happen. And it almost feels to me like this is going to be the arc where Katarina recognizes Keith's feelings. I don't see any way around that. Had Giordo's feelings not gotten through to Katarina, I would assume she never would recognize it, and even though, yes, she's kind of starting to be oblivious again to Giordo's feelings, like being like, oh, he wants to come because he's friends with Keith, and then he'll impose, be like, no, I want to make sure you're okay. I mean, she still does recognize, even if she's like, I'm not going to marry him because I don't want to be royalty because I wouldn't fit that nature, oblivious to the fact that Giordo wouldn't make her do anything that she would be uncomfortable with, so she would be able to continue being Katarina, even if she married Giordo, but I digress. So it almost feels like because this is the arc where, I mean, especially now that I see something brutal's happening, this is going to probably be a wake-up call for Keith to admit his feelings, and she's probably going to be all sorts of confused about, brother and sister and what that means. But still, this feels like that's going to be the arc that's going to, hopefully shape their relationship, because even though the entire cast isn't going to be revealed to her this season, you do want to see more progression than just Giordo himself, and honestly, I wouldn't have said it last week, but seeing it now seemingly be set in motion, the brother kind of does feel like the natural next step, right? I mean, it's the most odd relationship on a, normal mindset level, but it's the one that naturally makes the most sense given the pairings and things like that. I mean, I was just pleasantly surprised by this episode. I mean, there was some great humor as per usual. The mother freaking out because she dragged mud all across the home, to then the mother blaming her for the brother leaving, and I'm just like, okay, I get it, Mama. You really think she's a disappointment, but goddamn, you gotta lay off a little bit here. And the idea of the ransom note was pretty interesting because I was like, okay, clearly he didn't run away, but I wasn't also expecting kidnapping. I was expecting, I don't know, some form of shame or something like that. I don't know what I just, for whatever reason, I was like, because we already had kidnapping, it's almost like it was last on my mind, and I'm interested to see how far they'll push this sequence, because, I mean, when you introduce brother and sister, brother is literally kicking the living shit out of him as the sister looks like a maniac. Pretty much what Katarina feels people see her as is what that bitch looked like to me. And honestly, no idea. I feel like there will probably be a typical rescue party similar to the previous kidnapping, but I think there's going to be a lot of emotional distress. I'd be shocked if Keith doesn't suffer some low blows during this arc, because rather than the gang coming to save Katarina and she's having to pretend that shit was kind of bad for her, I mean, who knows what's going to happen to poor Keith. And hopefully, if bad things do happen, hopefully it will be at least a bridge to get his true feelings out there, because the more people Katarina recognizes, the more she'll be able to come to her own conclusions of what she wants in life. And wow, I mean, I figured we were going to end on something big this season. And while I don't think this arc will last the remaining 3 episodes, I do think this will be the last big arc we have this season, with either the last episode or 2 being more simple and just kind of epilogue style situations. But then again, maybe this will be a 3-part arc and I'm gonna be completely fooled. Who knows, right? But I mean, this episode looked drop dead gorgeous. I know a lot of people loved the lighting in last week's episode with the kind of orangey tinge to the romantic atmosphere. But I mean, every time we see the village or the town, whatever you want to call them, they pull back on those wider shots. That shit is so good. The reflections in the water look so hyper-realistic. The colorful palette on all the plants on the balconies, this show looks goddamn beautiful. And I'm interested to see what's gonna happen, because, I mean, there were some great moments, even building up for the search, the teddy bear, the fact that this teddy bear is the biggest troll I think I've ever seen. Katarina sees it as this vile demon, but, as soon as someone else looks at it, it's just a cute little bear that will take you to your destination. And the fact that Jeffrey, of all characters, was the one who ordered it because he wants to keep his loved ones close. There's so many points where characters almost dropped the stalking word, but then pulled themselves back, and you gotta love that type of content. I mean, this has definitely been a very pleasant surprise for the season. I mean, I think anyone who loved season 1 is probably getting a kick out of season 2, and it's interesting because this is exactly what I want, even though I wasn't sure who I would pick. one more character getting a big spotlight which hopefully confesses feelings. Will I be disappointed if he doesn't confess his feelings? In probably some ways, but I mean, as long as they have like an emotional punch to the arc, like in terms of an ending, that should counter any negative feelings I'll have about maybe not more progression being made on the relationship side. But I mean, the fact that Katarina discovered the box of all the birthday presents or gifts that she's given him, like, the stage is set, right? More so than usual. And the fact that Giordo's kind of been pushed away more so, even after confessing his feelings, says to me, like, there's a perfect opportunity for Keith to swoop in. He won't win. He won't, like, marry her right then and there, but it will be enough to be like, these are my true feelings. I maybe feel ashamed because you're engaged, and I feel ashamed because we're failing you this or that, but, like, the stage is set, right? And it'll be interesting because, honestly, I would like to say that it won't come until the point where everyone individually confesses their feelings, but in a weird way, it almost feels like maybe after 3, maybe 4 people do, the rest will just gang up and pile their feelings. It doesn't necessarily mean like we need an arc for each of them to confess. We just need enough people to put their hat in the ring for them to feel like if they don't jump in soon, they won't have a shot at marrying her or being with her, right? And I mean, really, like I said, I think it was in last week's video, at this point, I don't think she'll end up with any of them. I think she's gonna just love herself and say, like, you know, I can't pick one over the other because I love you guys all equal and I don't want to hurt someone just for one person's happiness, so let's just continue to be friends. They probably will never give up. They'll probably be old grandmas and grandpas in their old age still chasing after poor Katarina. That kind of feels like the most natural progression, and if something does happen, I honestly feel like it'll be a new character we just don't see coming, which would rile up the fan base. But I mean, Otome Game has been a damn blast. I mean, the returns of anime this season that haven't had a season for a little bit, I mean, in certain cases you have things like Drag Maid that really have been gone for a while, but then Otome Game just a year past. But still, like, the second seasons are doing a great job, I find, at really taking the momentum of the first season and just making it better. It's not to say, like, the previous season of Otome Game was bad, but seeing the new progression and the comedy and the kind of actual character development is something you don't see a lot of, especially in a show like this. And I never would have said, when I heard that it was getting a second season, we'd have Giordo confessed and possibly even Keith confessed by the time we finish season 2. I'd be like, you're goddamn dreaming or something, but that's Otome Game for you. Definitely already wanting a season 3, which is weird because I was really content with season 1's ending, but honestly, give me more, keep adapting it because it's goddamn good. And honestly, I'd be shocked if we don't get a confirmation of season 3 pretty soon after this one ends, but I guess we'll see. Let me know your thoughts and feelings, favorite moment. What do you think is going to happen by the time this arc wraps up? Do you think there's going to be a confession, or do you think it's going to be something different? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.